You can. It must be guided by the Spirit. It must not be presumptuous. It must know its place, but it has a place. So God could bless the Sabbath, put his blessing in the Sabbath, and set it aside for holy use, and for 2,500 years there were human beings, and you tell me that God would not have them enjoy that. It's too much. It is too much for any reasonable mind to entertain. What is more plausible, what if not having the force of irrevocable logic, certainly is highly suggestive and I would say compelling, is that if God blessed the Sabbath and set aside for holy use, and there were human beings for 2,500 years, even if we don't see one example of a person keeping it, that does not mean it was not being kept. Because there were periods in the Bible, long periods in the Bible, after the Sabbath was given in Exodus, and there was no example seen of people keeping it. I think it's only when we reach to 2 Kings we see another example after examples of the man with the stick. But the point is that there were long periods after the Sabbath was given that you don't hear an example. So the argument that, boy, we never really see where it says Abraham keeps Sabbath. We never see that Joseph keeps Sabbath. We never really see that the patriarchs are keeping it. Therefore, the argument from silence means that it didn't exist. It's not a strong argument. It's an argument from silence. An argument from silence can be important. But if you weigh your argument from silence against my argument of the blessing and the hallowing, I say, which is more compelling? I come in to you as a jury. I put it to you as a jury. Which is more compelling? What is more compelling than I thought was being kept? Within Genesis 26, Abraham kept all of God's laws and commandments and statutes. And we know that all of the 10 commandments were enforced before Sinai. Now, Joseph ran away from Potiphar's wife, saying, how can I do this great sin? The law against adultery was not given. Cain killed Abel before the Sinaitic covenant forbade murder. You see where Abraham was charged with lying, half lie, that Sarah was his sister. So all of those laws were enforced before they were codified at Sinai. You have a thing called oral law. And even in the secular law, I think called oral contract. Some people think they can only if you don't write down something, you know. Man live with a woman all the years, and a woman a work and slave out for him. This is a Johnson. A man tell boy, crying on my dead. Come up with something, you know. Woman can go to court and prove that she contributes and what she did over time and get your money and get a legitimate part. So oral law was in existence. So here is what we see from the first, from Genesis 2, from the creation week, the Sabbath established in a most significant way. Now, in Exodus 16, because another big argument that is used, in Exodus 16, another big argument that is used is that the Sabbath was a part of the old covenant. Now I tell you something. There are some arguments against the Sabbath that I consider that have some level of plausibility. And years ago when I was debating Clinton Chisholm, he raised his main argument is this. His main argument is a law does not have any force outside of a covenant, and a strict covenant. And he argued this case reasonably, accepting his premises. Listen, a law does not have any authority outside of a strict covenantal basis. So, the old covenant, we all know it was abolished. You see the old covenant of the Sabbath? I hear a lot of Seventh-day Adventist others quoting when them trying to prove Sabbath, telling people that it's in Exodus 20. That's not good enough. It's in Exodus 20. That's in the commandments. Because the Exodus 20 covenant is abolished. This is why the better argument for Sunday, the better argument for the annulment of the Sabbath is that while the 9 commandments that were a part of the 10 in the Old Covenant came back over in the new and were restated, the Sabbath never come back. No. I start thinking about that as a reasonable one, And Jason last week raised the thing too. That you read the New Testament, you see that you must not commit adultery, you must not steal, you must not lie. All of those things are back. You can't, it is said, you can't automatically assume that the Sabbath come back too. Because the covenant or the law which gave the Sabbath force is no longer binding. That's a fact, Sabbath people don't understand. The old covenant is abolished. Clinton's argument was simple. Clinton's argument is that a law cannot have force outside a covenant. Therefore, the 9 commandments have come back on the authority of Jesus and the authority of the Holy Spirit, which is inspired in the New Testament. When the Spirit of truth comes, he will teach you all things. The Spirit of truth never brings back Sabbath, but it brings back the 9. And just as how in 62 we adopted our own constitution, we didn't throw out everything in the British Constitution, but we're not following the things that we are following on the basis of the British Constitution. The British Constitution is out and we have our Jamaican Constitution. So the old covenant with the Sabbath is like the old British Constitution. If you can't open your Jamaican Constitution and see it, you're in trouble. So the argument with Clinton is that the Sabbath can't survive outside of the covenant. The argument is. And this is why now my analysis of Exodus 16 will be very important. Because it is here that I'm testing his thesis. He has put forward a legal thesis on the table. And if a man has put forward a thesis, I must reckon with it. So I'm going to go to case law. And I'm going to see whether jurisprudence bears him out. Because in Exodus 16, before the Old Covenant, we see clearly that the Israelites were being tested on the matter of the Sabbath. And they did not have any law. They did not have any written law, any written covenant. No letter. There was none of the usual Near Eastern treaties. And this Sinaitic covenant is similar to the other Near Eastern treaties established between deities and the people. In Exodus 16 we see the people are told together
the manna on the sixth day